Fear has a very loud voice. But if you listen carefully, a lot of time underneath the fear, there's something you're actually hoping to do. And then you should probably do it. I was really good at what I do, and it started to be too easy to me. I got bored. I started to feel like I needed a bigger challenge. At that point, it was really scary for me. I decided that I will not let fear make decisions in my life. Fear is an amazing emotion because it actually teaches you where is your hope in your journey. That permission that I gave myself to grow later on manifested 9 different podcasts that I produced. Me becoming fully booked for many years as a coach.
What would you say to business owners who need to navigate a high amount of uncertainty?
Uncertainty is noise. And in a noisy situation, in a noisy place, you need more clarity. Remember this. You're okay. And you are on a journey where every mistake you make is a gift.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of The Shift for Leaders, where we talk about leadership and business transformation. Now, today I have with me Ziv Raviv. He's a business coach. He's also a fractional CMO. He's the author of a very interesting book called The Fully Booked Coach. I'm excited to hear more about that too. And he is the head of Kivi Media. Ziv, welcome to the show.
Hello, Corinna. It's great to be here on The Shift.
Yeah. And I'm curious, what led you to start Kivi Media and, getting into business, fractional CMO and business coach? How do they belong together? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I actually started my journey in my career as a software developer and a project manager and a team leader. And I got to a point where actually I was really good at what I do. I was communicating daily with clients from Japan and from Korea and from China, and was overcoming all sorts of communication hurdles and leading my team of 20 developers to produce these like great results. And it started to be too easy to me. I got bored. I started to feel like I needed a bigger challenge. And I had a hobby that was kind of a side hustle because it was a money-making hobby, which, believe it or not, it was to entertain kids in their birthdays as a magician. I was a kids entertainer. On the weekends, I would go after a long week of sometimes 12 hours a day and sometimes even 16 hours a day, that I would manage the software projects for this small company in Israel. And I would, on the weekend, go and drive my car and entertain kids with a magic show on their birthday. Little Timmy that is 5 years old would celebrate with me. That was by itself like a side hustle that got me to think that I should just quit my job in corporate and start my own business. And that was one shift that I did, was just to become a business owner, a small event industry business owner. And that actually led to a few iterations of development, from doing that for a year and actually figuring out all sorts of things through listening to podcasts and reading a lot of business books and working with a business coach. I started to see a transformation in my business because just money-wise, I 10x'd my hobby into an actual business. And then I really had this strong feeling where I want to share and give back. And I started my first podcast back in 2016. And that podcast immediately got a lot of like a lot of people were interested in it because it was a podcast in a very small niche. So it was very easy to like just find everyone in that niche and put that in front of them. And I accidentally became a coach. I didn't plan to become a coach. I didn't plan to help people with their marketing. The people in the tribe, the people I interviewed and the people that listened to the show came to me and said, I used those tips that you gave us and I started to make thousands of dollars, but I'm stuck in this little problem of maybe I don't have a website, I don't have, enough leads or whatever. And they asked for help and I didn't want to disappoint them. So I kind of started to give them away at the beginning, like coaching sessions, and soon enough, like to sell bundles of coaching sessions, which is as a side note, not a good idea to do to sell bundles and like tickets, like a ticketed system. It's not the relationship that I recommend. I recommend retainers as a relationship. But at the beginning, I didn't know better, and I just became a coach because people needed this.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's crawl, walk, run, right? Not like maybe in the beginning you do the one-on-one and then you learn, okay, I can't do one-on-one. I create bundles because I don't want to sell this like every single session separately. Yeah, I think there's a growth journey for every coach when they go into business like that resonates. Right, but so you stumbled into business, it was successful, then through sharing the success, you became a coach. What is the key lesson that you've learned by leading those business ventures that you got into? A key lesson about growth, especially in the midst of uncertainty, because we have had a lot more change happening in the last 10 or 15 years than we had before, like the pace of change and the amount of change that happens.
And to make things even more complicated, not only the external changes in the world and the uncertainty and terrible things that are happening around the world, there's also technical struggles, like algorithms change and people consume content differently, and even generational changes, like Gen Zs and the way they do business is completely different than millennials and Gen Xs and so on, and boomers. So there's a lot of change going on, and I think my first big takeaway was when I started to niche down sideways. So I already was successful in one niche, and then it's something that was the most organically reasonable thing to do was to niche sideways, to show what you've got, that what was successful in what you know, to people that are very, very close and could understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I just understanding that, I mean, what really matters in business is actually transformations and relationships. So transformations are problems that you solve, and relationships, uh, without them, people can't trust you. It used to be that trust is important, so get a lot of proof, right? Back in 2018 and 2020, if you had a lot of proof, a lot of testimonials, a lot of results that you could show that you've facilitated transformations, that was something that already was very reliable. If you're a business coach, let's say, of realtors, and you then go and say, I can help artists to grow their business because I've helped realtors, that proof doesn't really translate well to them. They don't resonate with that success. But if you've helped arts and crafts as a micro niche, and then you go and you try to help someone that is a painter, maybe that will resonate. That will be close enough so that you could show them that you worked with artists. So trust that was facilitated by truth used to be basically the bread and butter of business, and what thrived me was how can I just generate more trust? How can I get more people to trust me? These days, trust is actually not enough. There's something else you need to do, and it's related to relationships and to listening. I think that's the way I see things these days, that if it doesn't matter if you go and you shout out, here's what I did this, I did that. You have to actually listen first. You have to notice what people are telling you that they want to hear. You have to customize what you respond to them only based on what they, or on where they're at. Does this make sense, Corinna?
It does, Ziv. When you share what comes to my mind, I'm thinking it's two sides of the same coin. You're still building trust, but now trust used to be, show me that you have the experience by your testimonials. Now people go, no, your testimonials are not enough, because they've learned, perhaps, they've hired somebody that had all the right testimonials, but wasn't listening well to where they are going, what their transformation is that they're after, and couldn't translate this for them, because yeah, you might have done this for this other kid, for other company, right? But can you work with me, because I have needs that are needing your capabilities and your experience, but it's still my needs, my transformation, and you need to help me understand that you understand me. Prove that to me. And if you can prove to me that you understand where I'm coming from and that you can help me solve my problem, then I'll trust you.
Exactly. It's almost like the trust is only going to be respected and facilitated if you have something more than that. If you have the capability to listen, if the people that trust you are people within my own bubble, within my own tribe. So you, especially in the beginning, when you're outside, when you're an outsider of a tribe, of a micro niche, of a bubble, you really have to lead with listening.
I would even say in some areas, maybe not at a high stakes leadership position, but in some areas, your lack of or proof of testimonials may not even matter. I've hired somebody that I had interviewed for a different position, and based on our conversation, active listening, very good in reverting back what I was after, I thought, I will not hire this person for what I want to do here. But there's another area, was actually a higher area, that I hired this person for, because he was showing that he had strategic thinking capability, right? So what am I actually showing through the way I articulate myself? This is a great lesson for leadership and communication, by the way. What would you say to business owners or leaders who need to navigate a high amount of uncertainty?
I love the question, because there's so much of uncertainty going on right now. I would say that, first of all, everyone needs a plan. And in order to build a good plan, you need to have good listening skills, and you need to open up to other people's ideas, and to have good people around you that will help you with the plan if they are available. But you could create a good plan even by yourself. And a good plan doesn't have to be perfect. It's actually hard for a lot of leaders to accept that a good plan doesn't have to be perfect. A good plan just have to be good. And it's way better to have a good plan than to not have a plan at all. And creating a plan is a relatively simple process of asking yourself questions and trying to prioritize and trying to focus. And sometimes the best plans are actually the ones that are so simple that you could actually remember it by heart. You know what you're trying to do this quarter or this year or this week, and planning applies to all of those units. You really do want to have a plan for all of them. So I would say uncertainty is noise. And in a noisy situation, in a noisy place, you need more clarity. And so you just need to make space for that. You need to stop every week, every quarter, every month, just stop and go back to asking yourself question, go back to listening mode and ask yourself, did I make progress on my way towards my goals? What worked, what didn't work? Just ask yourself these questions that will help you go closer and closer towards that paradigm shift that you're interested in making, and that change in your journey.
Ziv, I love that. There was so many thoughts that came to mind when you were speaking, because I used to do this with when I help people create their startup. I would say, or start their business, not just startups. I would say, forget about a business plan. Not that business plans don't have value, but they have a place. When you said, uncertainty is noise and you need clarity to cut through the noise, and a good plan is one that's memorable, exactly to that point, we would develop a plan that you can put on a whiteboard. So you look at it every morning, you go, this is where I am in Q1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you even want to do the next 3 months, kind of, here are the things that I want to achieve in the next 3 months. What needs to happen? Because otherwise you're not going to stay focused. You're going to have a list of tasks, which is what a lot of people do. They just wake up in the morning, they go, I check my emails. Bad idea, right? First thing in the morning, check their emails. Second, I'll just create a task list based on the emails that I just got and everything that I didn't get done yesterday. And then all you are is being reactive and overworked probably. But if you really want to accomplish something, and I've, like, in a short amount of time after I started my business, I've published 2 books, I've launched courses and programs, and so, right, and I've run multiple companies. So how is it possible to do all those things? And I don't have full-time employees, so I don't have a huge amount of staff. How do you run lean and mean when you do multiple things at the same time? Again, to your point, I just want to kind of underscore your point there. If you have clarity what you're trying to achieve, and you make your plan simple enough and visible that it's memorable or visible somewhere, then you can achieve that. I think it's a phenomenal tip. That's a gift that keeps on giving. What is maybe a pivotal moment from a high stakes scenario that you had faced, like something where you feel like something went wrong, or almost went wrong, or could have gone wrong, that you have learned the most from in your business?
Well, at some point I had to make a decision about buying another business. There was a secondary school. I already created my first online school, and there was a secondary online school that I was an occasional lecturer on, and they offered me to buy their business. They wanted to move away to other activities in their lives, in their careers. And at that point, it was really scary for me. I needed to travel abroad to buy a business that is already incorporated in the UK. And I had all these ideas about how complicated it might be to own 2 businesses in 2 different countries, and how that affect my life. And even just imposter syndrome kicking in and telling me, hey, are you really ready for this? What will happen if you're not ready? They will find out, stuff like that. And I decided that I will not let fear make decisions in my life. Fear is an amazing emotion, because it actually teaches you where is your hope in your journey. And it's hard to hear the hope because fear has a very loud voice. But if you listen carefully, a lot of time underneath the fear, there's something you're actually hoping to do. And then you should probably do it. So back in 2018, I bought a company. I basically acquired an online school and 2 podcasts. I started a podcast in a completely different niche, and that the courage to create something that is beyond just one micro niche or two micro niches, something that is bigger than me, was the moment where Kivi Media was born. I needed an entity that it will make sense that it does more than be really good at marketing and advising and consulting and coaching of one specific micro niche. But that permission that I gave myself to grow later on manifested 9 different podcasts that I produced, and manifested me becoming fully booked for many, many years as a coach, figuring out this idea of micro niching and how to keep clients for a long enough time so that you actually become fully booked. And that was something that one moment of deciding to not listen to fear, to actually make decisions regardless of fear, later on just facilitated a lot of growth and a lot of even monetary wise. We more than 4x our business by then, crossed the 500K by then and a year. And so it was a very meaningful, pivotal moment. And the second pivotal moment that I had was actually related to the COVID pandemic, which was when I decided I will stop owning a business, the local business which I created in the event industry. I decided to focus only on the coaching and only on Kivi Media, and that was another decision that by then it was quite easy to make the decision because I was really good at it. I felt like I'm in alignment with my heart, and that's a very strong thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the world was telling me that I should do it. My heart was telling me I should do it, and I just did it.
It comes back to we're coming full circle on clarity. Once you had more clarity, you knew actually where your heart was, what to start, where you can throw all your energy in there. So we're coming toward the end. Is there a piece of advice you would want to give the listeners, and maybe also a place where they can find you?
So I would like to suggest that whoever is listening to this, remember this: you're okay, and you are on a journey where every mistake you make is a gift and an opportunity to learn. And if you remember that every single day, if you remind yourself to trust the process, to just allow yourself to make mistakes, allow myself to try again. Every day you can try again and receive new gifts. I think that you know more than many, Corinna, as a fractional CMO that also is a business coach and a host and an author. But specifically with the marketing is all about failure. We try multiple things and we fail. But if we learn from them, we grow. So I recommend everyone listening right now to remember that. And you can learn more about me on zivraviv.com. That's ZIVRAVIV.com. That's where you could listen to my podcast Beyond Six Figures, and you can get my book, The Fully Booked Coach, on Amazon. And thank you so much, Corinna, for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Ziv. I recommend everybody go over to his show, listen to that. There's lots to learn, and certainly taking your advice there. I love at the end. I just want to underscore that again, so nobody misses this moment. You said, and be open to receiving another gift. So maybe shift your mindset. I know sometimes we think, but I have to pay the bills. I have to do so many things. I have to achieve. So have to. Yeah. But your failure is a gift. So just be open to receiving another gift of information on what does work or what doesn't work. So this is great. Thank you so much for being on the show. Learned so much from you. I hope you come again.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so much.
everyone. Thank you, Corinna.
Bye.